The Quadratic Residue Diffuser was developed by Manfred Schroeder, who was a scientist that discovered that a series of vertical grooves or wells will scatter sound to create a more balanced and natural listening experience. The first step for calculating your quadratic residue diffuser is to determine the frequencies that you want to diffuse, specifically the lowest frequency. So we're going to use the wavelength equation, which is the wavelength equals the speed of sound divided by your target frequency. And the max well depth is going to be the speed of sound divided by 2 times the max frequency, so half of the wavelength. For this example, we're going to use a target frequency of 1000 hertz. So the max depth is going to be the speed of sound, 343 meters per second, divided by 2 times 1000 hertz, which gets 343 divided by 2000, which gives us 0.1715 meters, which means the maximum well depth for this diffuser is going to be 171.5 millimeters. The next step is to calculate the well depth proportions. We're going to use this formula, well depth proportion factor equals n squared modulo p. N is going to be equal to an integer that is greater than or equal to 0. The modulo is a mathematical formula. I'll explain it here in a second. The p is any prime number. For this, we're going to use p equals 7. So we're going to do, basically it's called an N7 quadratic well diffuser. So modulo is basically finding the remainder after doing division. So if we had right here 10 modulo 7, 7 can go into 10 once and the remainder is 3. So this well depth proportion factor would be 3 in that case. Let's start off with n equals 0. 0 squared is 0 mod 7. It's going to be 0. For n equals 1, 1 squared mod 7 is going to be 1. For n equals 2, 2 squared mod 7, that's going to be 2 squared is 4. So we're going to have the well depth proportion factor is 4 right here. For n equals 3, we're going to have 3 squared modulo 7, which is 9 modulo 7. So 9 divided by 7 equals 1 with the remainder of 2. So this is going to equal 2 because it's the remainder. So we can keep doing this with n equals 4. We get 4 squared, 16 modulo 7. So 16 divided by 7 equals 2 with the remainder of 2. So we get 2 as our answer here. Now n equals 5, we'll get 25 modulo 7. So 25 divided by 7 equals 3 with the remainder of 4. So this proportion factor is 4. N equals 6, we'll get 36 modulo 7. So 36 divided by 7 equals 5 with the remainder of 1. So 1 is going to be our proportion factor here. So we're left with the quadratic residue sequence of 0, 1, 4, 2, 2, 4, 1. Next step is going to be to calculate the actual well depths. And for this, we're going to use the formula well depth equals the proportion divided by max proportion times max depth. So the max depth is 4, so we don't actually have to do this calculation. It's just 1 times the max depth, which is 171.5 millimeters in this case. So for 0, we get 0 times 171.5, which gives us 0. So this well depth is going to be flush with the front face of your diffuser, so there's no actual depth. Then for 1, we basically take 1 divided by 4, so 1/4 of the full max depth, which is going to be 42.875 millimeters. For 2, we're going to basically take half of the max depth, which gives us 85.75 millimeters. Now that we have the physical depths of these wells for our diffuser, we can map them out. And so here's the well depth sequence for our 7 root 1000 hertz target. So you got 0, 1, 4, 2, 2, 4, 1, 0 with their corresponding physical well depths so that you can map out how you're going to build this diffuser. Another thing to keep in mind is the minimum distance for your diffuser placement. And for this, we're going to use the speed of sound divided by the target frequency times 3. So in our 1000 hertz example, the minimum distance is going to be 1.03 meters. So if your diffuser is closer than 1.03 meters, there's not going to be enough space for the sound to completely be diffused, and your diffuser isn't going to be as effective as it would be if it was at least 1.03 meters or further away. Another thing you're going to need to calculate is the width of each well. And to calculate the well width for a quadratic well diffuser, we use the guideline that the well width is approximately half of the wavelength of the shortest wavelength to be scattered. So the shortest wavelength is going to be the highest frequency. So we're going to use this formula: well width equals the speed of sound divided by 2 times the target frequency. So for this example, we'll use 3000 hertz is the upper limit, and we'll get 343 divided by 6000. So 0.057 meters, which is 57 millimeters for the width of our well. This picture maps out the well width and depths that we just calculated. This is a page from the Master Handbook of Acoustics, which shows the quadratic residue sequences. So you can see here for the 7, 0, 1, 4, 2, 2, 4, 1, 0. So you can take any of these prime number sequences that they've already figured for you and use your maximum well depth, and then apply these proportions to get your physical well depth if you're going to build a diffuser. So screenshot this and save this. Again, this is from the Master Handbook of Acoustics right here.